Welcome to Pitch in the Zone, our weekly gathering of coaches that meet to help one presenter with a 3-minute pitch. Our coaches today are Nathan Gold, hailing from San Francisco, specializing in high-stakes presentation opportunities. We have Scotty Spursum, also from San Francisco. Her focus is more on the language side, with a tremendous background in the startup world. Then we have Michael Marchak, usually joining us from the Midwest, today in Florida. He is a CTO, author, and speaker with always great insight for our presenters. From Thailand, we have Massimo Peroncelli. He is an entrepreneur and also doubles as our timer. He will display a time for our presenter if you want to pin that on your Zoom window to keep track of the 3 minutes. Once those passed, the timer will flip and it will count up in red. And we usually also have Rick Pollack. He cannot join us today. So let's get right to the presenter of today, which is Scott Peak. Scott has been presenting here before. He has a new networking kind of platform, Groups Linked Up. Scott, welcome back to Pitch in the Zone.
Thank you.
Your audience for your pitch is?
There'd be foundations, both corporate foundations that can provide funding for this nonprofit.
Foundations to provide funding. All right. And with that, Scott, please enter the zone physically and mentally. Get into that high energy spirit. If you want to share your screen, yep, there we go. And with that, I get out of the way. Scott, the floor is yours.
Hi, I'm Scott Peak, and I'm founder of Groups Linked Up, an opportunity for groups to connect worldwide. As individuals, we have the opportunity to be connected, learn from each other. What about Groups Linked Up being part of the national and worldwide connection for organizations? Groups form with special interests. Individuals have an opportunity to connect to that group. But if groups around the world had an opportunity to connect with each other, how powerful would that be? After a number of years of low donations, American Red Cross chapter in Minnesota partnered with a local college group to market an upcoming blood drive. As a result, the blood donations shattered a 5-state record for bloods donated during that donation. That connection worked, and it continues to work today. Groups Linked Up will be forming a website, and it will be a connection point for new organizations to join and be connected worldwide. It will provide marketing opportunities and documents to be able to share with each other to form these connections. It will provide opportunities for insurance and software purchases, and it will provide the support that groups need to thrive. We want this organization to have funding during this year, and the goal is to launch it in 2022. Groups Linked Up can form connections around the world for organizations to thrive. I have 40 years of experience as a member, leader, and advisor for groups. I've been successful at starting new ideas and forming organizations during that time. My board of advisors have seen me in action, and they've seen successful startups during that time. And they're here providing support to have groups linked up be a reality. I would love to talk more about this opportunity in a future meeting. Thank you.
All right. Thank you very much, Scott. What was the time, Massimo? I didn't have you on the screen there.
He had like 8 seconds left.
Oh, good. Okay, so within the 3 minutes, perfectly. That's definitely well done. I also liked your new slides. Now, there were some issues at the very beginning getting those slides going, and that can somehow put us a little bit into a tailspin when the final time is arriving to present. So the structure was good. I think you have the right components, but there are still a couple of issues I think that can be vastly improved. So let me just start with Massimo today. Massimo, what kind of observation have you had, and how can you help Scott improve his approach?
Yes, thank you. Well, first of all, I think we all can agree that the improvement on the slides were like 1000% better. Really a tremendous improvement. I would say then your setup is still lacking of some, like the lighting in your setup is pretty bad. I mean, your face, it looks too dark. It's just a matter of I'm sorry, just a dog came. Sorry. Then, yes. Regarding the problem with the slides, I would suggest if you can do that yourself or let somebody help you with that, instead of the slides, preparing like a MP4 or a movie timed as your slides, so that playing a movie, usually there's no problem whatsoever anywhere. So if the slides don't work, you just play the movie and you go along with the movie. So as a backup solution. Okay. Then, as I guess I read Michael going through the comments, didn't see all of them, but you sounded extremely professional, like an anchorman for the news. You say, da 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 da, da 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 da, da 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 da. It was perfect. But for a news program, I mean, I really didn't see any emotion. And I'm sure with the Red Cross story and all the other things, you have a lot of potential of putting some more emotions into that, because it's a great opportunity for that. But it was professional. But I would guess too much for this case. But really great improvement from last time. Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you very much, Massimo. Moving right along to Scotty. Scotty, how can you help Scott?
Hi, yeah. The slides were really great. So again, congratulations on that. And your timing, you nailed it, and just right in the right amount of time. And you got to your ask. So the elements were all there, which is terrific. A little bit more enthusiasm would be helpful, because that kind of enthusiasm helps people enjoy the presentation and want to learn more. And to that end, I actually wanted to learn more, and I didn't get it, so it was a little bit disappointing. In that the story about the blood drive was really interesting, but I didn't get the full connection to groups linked up. So it's like you started to wrap the package, but then it never, it never got tied together, the tape never got put on the wrapping paper. So I think you just need to be able to pull some things together a bit more elegantly. And also in terms of your background, you had the slide of the board there, and then no detail on your background. It's like, I've had your 20 years of experience putting these groups together. Maybe you could just sprinkle in a few name events for you, and that helped lead you to your board. The other thing I wanted to mention in terms of helping get settled when we can get either lost or hung up on our slides is to really take a reset breath and check your posture. I mentioned this last week to someone else too. It's not even always about speed. for slowing yourself down. But when you check your posture, you just feel more confident. And lately I've been trying to put my feet flat on the ground, and sometimes without my shoes on, because none of you can see that. And it just makes me feel more grounded. And then that way I can really project what I want to say. So I think you can continue to work on it and bring a little bit more enthusiasm to it.
Mm-hmm.
Excellent feedback. Thank you very much, Scotty. And moving along to Michael, you also put a lot of comments, or not a lot, but a few comments into the chat box. Please take it from here and elaborate on those as well.
Absolutely. Massimo brought it up, and it's very clear. Before we started, you were a different person almost in terms of how we were talking together, very relaxed and natural. And then all of a sudden, we are now going to talk about this very special thing that I've been working on for 20 years. And it completely changed. And your demeanor and who you are didn't really come through. And so by moving forward back to that, who you are and keeping it personal, tell you about your story first. That keeps us interested in who you are and lets you be natural to start with. That's my story. I mean, how can I not be natural? I'm talking about myself. But to give us an idea about who you are, why you're doing this. I like the concept of linking in some of the advisors you had there, but I didn't really get a connection with how you met them, how you know them, what kind of work you're doing together, what's important to them. As we're kind of bringing this all together. So if you're going to show advisors like that have some kind of a link to what you can do, try to pull that connection in a little tighter, and say, hey, I've been working with so and so here. He's very passionate in this, and she's really good at this. To get that again personal feeling there. This is people talking about people, and we build these links and these connections together. It helps us all to understand where you're coming from and understand that how important this really is for these groups who are relying on other people's generosity to move forward. Connect into that. I think that's something that you really need to do, because it's one thing to be professional, and you can still do that, but you can still do that in a way that's personable too, and allowing people to understand who you are and where you're coming from.
Okay.
Thank you very much, Michael. Right on, right on. Let me pick one of our participants, someone who has been at Pitch in the Zone before presenting. Jess, what kind of observation have you seen, and how can you help Scott improve?
Sure. I agree with everybody on your energy level. You just need to pick it up a little bit, so we are more interested in what you're saying, and your body language is also very, very important. The other thing on the one slide where you say everything that you're going to do, it was so big and it varied so much. It's like insurance and marketing, and I can't even name all the different categories that you're hitting. And that seems like a lot of stuff to start with. So I would consider focusing on one and then expanding from there.
Nice. Thank you, Jess. And moving on to Nathan. Nathan, how can you help Scott?
Okay, Scott, where shall I begin? Your opening, let's start there. I'm not going to repeat anything anybody else said. The opening was not clear, and I couldn't latch on to what you were doing before you started going into the other things. So one recommendation I have for you is perhaps you can start with something along the lines of establishing your credibility by saying, blah, blah, blah. So after the last 4 decades of working with groups and doing this and doing this and doing this, I'm here to share with you a new way we can link up groups. Why? For example, the Red Cross, a group of 45,000 people, needed this and they couldn't find it until we came along, and then we did this and now they're still going. So that, that kind of an opening story using your own narrative, of course, could help establish your credibility and a good example right up front about a big organization, because you did do this for the Red Cross, right?
Yeah, it was back when I was in college. They were struggling, and so I came in and started this up, and it just shocked everyone in terms of what it could do, from having a donations that were real low to breaking these records, and it started it from there.
Okay, so now I'm kind of like a little bit in shock here.
Sorry, we need to hear that. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, we need to hear that, right? And also, that's something you did when you were in college, and it's still
Yes.
going on today?
Yes, it started a program that essentially brought in different generations. You know, Red Cross being the older people on board of directors, having the same style of handling the blood donations.
Okay.
And when all of a sudden this happened, people took notice. And I was the one that they asked to be on a board of directors while I was in college then at this chapter.
So some aspect of that narrative could be the thing to use
Right.
here. I think
Right.
we're all kind of smiling, saying, "Where the hell was that story in this whole thing?"
I know. But
that's what I love about this kind of thing is you just say what's on your mind, and then people like us get together and ask you about things like your backstory, like this, and all of a sudden you realize, whoa, yeah, I guess that really is what I'm doing, because it's not, it's not the nonprofit thing you're doing. It's the results of what you're doing. It's the impact. It's the impact, especially with nonprofits that still need to raise money to create impact, right?
Right.
So, all right. So then you've got that launch. Okay. Who are you aiming this presentation eventually is going to be towards a foundation nonprofit? Do you think, I haven't had a ton of time with these people, maybe somebody else on the line has had, but I find it a little bit difficult to accept that slide where you said 2021 and 2022. I don't know, in today's development world, if you wait a year for a software product to be out, that's like, I don't know, that's weird.
Yeah, I need to clarify that.
Think through what you would do with the money, because that slide sounded like most of, your next steps or milestone kind of slide. You don't have to be that, but I'd think through what are you looking to raise, by the way?
$500,000 to start with.
Okay, so then they're going to want to know, what are you going to do with that $500,000 in the next 12 to 18 months?
Right.
Okay, and have you talked with organizations recently?
I have, and I've talked to a number of individuals that are connected to foundations. I have.
No, not the foundations. I'm talking about Red Cross type organizations.
Not that type of organizations. I've talked to individual groups that have that see the need to have connections like this, similar to what happened with the Red Cross.
Okay. How many of those have you talked?
Going back to civic groups again, going back to individuals that see the need to connect and have a cross-generational, have a different, unique organizations that connect.
Okay. All right, I'm going to turn the floor over to somebody else, but I think you're onto something here about the whole uniqueness that you bring to the table, such as cross-generational, blah, 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 blah stuff. But thank you for giving me the chance to help you today. I think feel free to come back again.
Thank you very much.
It's a work in progress, and iterating is the best way to do this. So good work.
And I have to say one thing if I can right now, and that's the technical issues I had definitely affected me, and I need to correct that, and I will.
Okay, so that's a good example, and anybody on the line could probably help you with this, but this is an opportunity where when you see something like that going downhill and it looks like it's going to get worse and worse and take up too much time, I don't know how much time you have, but if you were on the line with a real investor, you'd be over. They'd say, okay, we'll come back when you have your tech all handled. So that would be a missed opportunity for some people. So as Claudia said, plan B is to just, as soon as things look like they're not going right and you're not sure what to do, now your brain starts freaking out, just go to plan B, which is screw the slides, look at the camera, and just talk.
Yeah.
But first, take a couple of deep breaths and gather your thoughts, get back into your own zone, and then say, I apologize for the technical breakdown. We don't need slides here today anyway. And everybody will take a big breath and say, okay, let's see what they got. And normally you'll do well in that situation if you just take a couple of deep breaths before you speak.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, Nathan. And there were some moments in your segment that really, this is what Pitch in the Zone is all about, this discovery of stories that the presenter may not even be aware of. The second thing I want to very briefly mention is that to recover from any issue, technical issue or whatever, it becomes easier the more often it happens. So you need practice. You need a lot of practice. And the more you practice, the more it will happen, and the more you get into a routine to really get over these things very quickly without letting them impact your feelings, so that you keep your energy level high. And what I would recommend is for you right now is Toastmasters. I am a member myself, actually a very inactive member, but I'm a member of the organization. And right now, most of these meetings take place online. So you can join as many different clubs. You could join 2-3 meetings a day easily, even as a guest. But it gets you into that practice mode where you just need to sit in front of your computer, look at the camera, and make some meaningful noise for a few minutes at a time. So I really, really recommend Toastmasters in your situation, just for a few weeks or months to build up that proficiency in presenting online. We still have other participants from previous sessions on the line. Sam, you have been a very regular participant. You've been in Scott's shoes, and I'm also sure you've had some technical issues that you had to recover from. So what kind of feedback do you have for Scott?
Hi, thanks, Claudio. Okay, so I think I'm just looking at the points I jotted down, and more or less have been covered, but I'll just quickly highlight them for you, Scott, in case you're kind of keeping a tally of what issues are coming up how many times. So I think the key thing for me was the enthusiasm. I don't know if maybe you were reading, and I say this because I did it myself the last time I presented and everybody was able to tell. So I don't know if maybe you were reading or kind of combined with the tech issues. And to Claudio's point, I purposely avoid slides because I feel I'm so scared of the tech issues. So I don't have them because I avoid the slides. But yeah, so I think the enthusiasm just kind of, honestly, it sort of lost me. And I was looking forward to hearing about this because I thought it's not as heavily technology based as other sessions. So I thought I'll actually be able to follow along and understand. And I think because of the enthusiasm, it sort of lost me. So so there was that. The other thing I picked up when you talked about at the beginning, as you introduced the Red Cross, I just think again, that segue there, you know, where you kind of say, you know, groups are impactful, you know, people come together to form groups with common interests. If you kind of segue it, and here's the impact of groups, and then into that Red Cross story, because for a second I got lost there, like, why are we talking about the Red Cross? So just that segue there. And then I got a bit lost on the slide again with the website, that kind of long lead time for creating a website in 2022. I don't know if I was missing something there, but that was just a thought and something that kind of begged that question. So yeah, I would love to hear about linked up groups. So, you know, if you come back on, I'm really curious about how it works and what you're doing. So thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, Sam. And we also have with us today, Havard. How do you pronounce your first name?
Havard.
Okay. You will be up in about 4 weeks at Pitch in the Zone, and I think this is your second meeting participating. Yes. What kind of feedback do you have for Scott? I'm always very interested, and our presenters are, in these fresh eyes that see this, you know, for the first time. And what observations have you made?
Yeah, it felt like you guys knew much more about what was going on with Scott than I did. So because I had no clue, and my problem actually, Scott, when you presented, it's like, what are you actually talking about? I could not connect into your story. And I was thinking, is this the next Facebook? Is it Dropbox? Is it the next internet? And it's like you're creating all these kind of images in my head. And I couldn't sort of place, where are you? What is this really about? And for me, and yes, I am practicing also for my own pitch. So it's sort of it's important to have like a setup story. What is the problem you're trying to solve? And I see that in sort of with many founders when they start pitching, they sort of jump over the problem. And if you do that, you very easily get the investors or the audience lost because they don't really know what you're talking about. And now you lost me in this trail because I really had no clue what you're trying to do. So I think about that. Define the problem you want to solve, and so as I think Scotty said, define sort of the story leading into why you want to solve this problem. And I think that could be a good start. And then you can probably have this sort of check the boxes after you have defined the problem, because many times the answer lies in a precise definition of the problem. And if you don't have a precise definition of the problem, what answer are you giving really? So that's just some of my thoughts. Yeah, practice. That's it's good, and don't worry about these sort of technical issues. That will fix itself. It's always good to practice to see that you can survive even with technical issues. And one thing I'd like to say with Claudio, that you shared something really cool, I thought, last week, or this week actually, about this sort of mirror neurons. And sort of, if you get anxious, you portray that feeling to others. If you are calm, everyone is getting calm. So keep it calm, because that's what you want people to, or keep it enthusiastic, because then the audience gets enthusiastic. Lots of thoughts from me, actually.
Fabulous feedback. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
And now I look even more so forward to seeing your pitch here in the zone in just a couple of weeks. This will be really, really great. Scott, you have received a lot of feedback again, and 2 people have mentioned, come back again, because it is an iterative process. Take the feedback you have received today, let it percolate a little bit, and then feel free to get on my personal calendar as well for another 30 minutes, and we'll work a little bit more on this. I think that you have already made quite some progress, and presenting, communicating, it is an extremely complex kind of thing with so many facets. And by just simplifying it and building up on your own feeling. Again, thank you for the mention there about this article about the mirror neurons, because that one goes both ways. If you start to feel insecure, whether it is caused by some technical issue or whatever it is, it does reflect outside, even online. It is absolutely amazing how we transfer our own emotions, even when we are talking to a glass screen.
Right.
So Scott, thank you very much for being here today, and we will see each other again next week. In the meantime, enjoy your day, afternoon, evening, wherever you are in the world. See you. Bye-bye.
Bye.